Wicked for Good is the sequel to Wicked. It's based off Act 2 of the musical and book, and I saw it in theaters earlier yesterday by the time you are seeing this video. Before I dive into my thoughts on the movie, go down below, tell me what are your opinions on Wicked for Good. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I want to know all of that in the comment section. Are you a fan of the musical? Are you a fan of the book? Or do you prefer the movies? Still want to know all that and more. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, the bell, so you never miss another review. For me, I went into this movie with tempered expectations. I liked that first movie. I think that it has a lot of problems. Check out my review of the movie. I put out a review a couple days ago, and so check that out. But I was looking forward to this one because I wanted to see how the story concluded, but I haven't heard anything but negative things about Act 2 of the musical, and then when the reviews for this came out, they were significantly lower than the first film, so I was a little bit nervous for it, and I've got to say that there are parts in here that I think are better than the first one. In fact, for the most part of the movie, I think it is better than the first one, and I think a big part of that is the story here. The story is much more intense than the first film. The first film was basically Harry Potter, you're at the magical school until the third act when you do the other Wizard of Oz stuff. Here, in this one, it very much feels more dangerous, more intense. The story has stakes here, and that is something I absolutely loved about the film. As there were numerous times when the movie gets dark, and I know that there's people that are going to see the movie and say, oh, that went a little too dark. I think it had the perfect amount of darkness to it, because it also lends itself for some pretty heavy emotions, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes. But just the story, the nature of the story was intense, and there are several sequences where I did not know what was going to happen, and just the story itself overall is better than the first movie, I think. Overall, you still have the cast here that is just charming as ever. Again, Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, phenomenal in here. I really wish we actually got more of them, if I'm being completely honest, because I love them. Like, they have great relationship. I wasn't fully sold on the movie until their first scene in the movie. And after their first scene of the movie, then I started to get sold on the film, and I was really enjoying the film as soon as their first scene, and even when they're not together, every scene that they are together is the highlights of the movie for me. Also, you got Jeff Goldblum in here, who is just insane. I mean, he is just hyped up, having a great time, and I love him in here. Michelle Yeoh, I'm sure you're seeing on the internet that she doesn't give the best performance. That's 100% true. She's not very good in the film. We can skip past her. But the cast still has that charm from the first movie. The emotions in this film, there are a lot of emotions in the third act, a couple that made me tear up for a scene, and when you stop and think about it, you're like, wait, couldn't you do it like a completely different way instead of doing it this way? But they do it that way, and so you could somewhat feel like the emotions are just kind of cheap emotions, but they still work. Again, because you buy into the relationship between Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. You just love those two characters, and so you've seen The Wizard of Oz. You know how the movie's going to end, so just the emotions that you can get in the third act are grand. Get it, Ariana Grande? But, I mean, still really good emotions. So overall, for Wicked for Good, I had a really good time with the movie. I thought that the cast was still great, but the story itself, honestly, I enjoyed a lot more than the first film. Even like the references to the original Wizard of Oz. I've seen people say that it's half-baked, and for me, I genuinely enjoyed every reference that the movie gave us, how the Tin Man became the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and as someone who loves that original Wizard of Oz film, I was constantly like, oh, I got that reference. And so, again, it's kind of like cheap fan baiting, oh, look, cameo porn movie. But at the same time, it does kind of surface the story, and I still, as a fan of the original film, like that. And so it is a film that, for the most part, did its job. But, again, just like the first film, the third act is a little bit rough. Where I was enjoying the film all up till maybe the final 15 minutes. even when we started to get the contrivances to get those cheap emotions in the third act, I was still buying it. I was like, okay, yeah, you can do it a different way, but I still really buy it. And then we get the final 15 minutes. And I say if I walked out of the theater at a specific time, I would be much higher on the movie than I am now. But I walked out of the theater when the film ended, which is unfortunate because the way the movie ended, I was not the biggest fan of. Now, there is going to be spoilers here, so I will put here's a time card of when spoilers will end. If you haven't seen the movie, spoilers begin in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Obviously, you know how The Wizard of Oz ends. Obviously, you know that the Wicked Witch of the West dies. And when she dies, it is kind of a really good ending that I really enjoyed. Again, they were able to bring out emotions in you, and kind of the way that the movie closed out was satisfying. Until the ending, where you're like, okay, this is a satisfying ending, we can end the movie now. Then they decided to drop the bombshell. Hey, guys, she's still alive. The Wicked Witch of the West, who apparently is not wicked because, she's a good character in the movie, but she's still alive. Which, number one, doesn't make any sense because in The Wizard of Oz, that's not what she did. That's not how the story goes at all. And number two, the way it happens is weird. To where I am sitting there in the theater like, did that actually just happen? The Scarecrow. You know the guy where it was alluding a love triangle between the Wicked Witch and the Good Witch and the one student guy? Well, he died in the movie and Glinda turned her into a scarecrow. He's a scarecrow. And which is all fine. I was thinking okay, that's pushing it, but it's fine. The CGI on him is awful. The CGI is laughably bad. It's like a scene that someone would take a picture of, post on Twitter or Instagram, and it'd go viral, like people saying, what is this? There's no way this is from a real movie. And it is just laughably bad. And revealing that she's still alive to try to give a happy ending is not satisfying. I left the theater like, what just happened? It's not satisfying. To make it satisfying, you end it where Glinda's giving her speech, and then the movie's over. Instead, you just keep going, and Elphaba's still alive, and it's a happy ending for everyone. No, that pisses me off. Spoilers end now. So, for the people that haven't seen the movie, I'm just gonna basically recap it in a non-spoiler fashion. It's unsatisfying. The way that they make the movie's ending is very unsatisfying to me. And with a CGI image that is bizarre, and I don't know how it could get past editing to be put in the film, it's not good. So the third act, again, like I said, had the contrivances, like, why didn't you do it this way just to get the cheap emotions? Throughout the entire film, there is that as well. Numerous times you're like, why didn't the character do this? Or why wasn't this something that the characters did? But for the most part, I can get past that because it is the Wizard of Oz world. You gotta kind of push past that a little bit. But to be clear, the script here is not great. The first film had a pretty good script. The script here is just, like I said, keeps adding contrivances, things that shouldn't happen keep happening, just so we can progress a story in the direction they want to progress it. They don't think about it and try to make it make sense. I still really enjoyed the movie. Like, throughout the entire movie, from about like the 15-minute mark of the movie to the final 15 minutes, I had a really good time here. I love how they progressed the story from the original, expanded the world of Oz. The story is intense. The story has some dangerous elements to it that I really enjoyed. Still love the cast. But the final 15 minutes are something that, when I think about this movie, I'll think, yeah, that was really good. And then my next thought will be, boo, but the way the movie ended. And like I said, if I left the theater, if I got up and I walked out at a specific scene, I would be perfectly happy. Also, the musical numbers and dance sequences are not as memorable as the first. Not even close. That first movie has numerous dance sequences that I think about when I think of that movie. This one, I'm not going to think about any of them. There is maybe 1 or 2 songs that are catchy. The rest of them are not. So the musical dance numbers, something that was so great about the first movie and really stood out, didn't really stand out in this movie for me. But like I said, I still had a really good time with it. Despite all the contrivances and script issues, I really did enjoy the story. I enjoyed going on this journey. Genuinely felt like I was watching theater. It genuinely did. And for a movie like this, I just kind of want to see what they do with the story. And for the most part, I really enjoy that, despite the obvious flaws. But I don't know if that's what happens in the screenplay or that's what happens in the book. But I don't like the way the film ended. For the most part, I had a really good time with it, however. I still think it's good. The double feature of Wicked and Wicked for Good it's pretty good. I'm overall happy the way that the double feature, these 2 movies went for kind of like the theater kids event of the decade. So I did really overall like the series as a whole, and I thought it really was well done. It was a really well done 2-film event. And I saw something posted on Twitter today by Discussing Film, which, is a very trustable source, that they're thinking of going with another Wicked movie, not following Ariana Grande or Cynthia Erivo or Elphaba and Glinda. I don't know if that's an option, but because the movie is making a lot of money right now, literally has the 10th highest grossing preview screening box office of all time. They're probably going to make another one. But I am glad that the movie is making money. Overall, for me, I'm going to give Wicked for Good a B+. Same score I gave the first one. And it's actually one that, because it's the finale to this, I highly recommend you check out in the theater. Go out. Everybody in my theater was wearing Wicked shirts, wearing green, had Wicked blankets on. Luckily for me, I wasn't in a theater where everyone was screaming or freaking out at all the scenes. It was actually a pretty great theater. But everyone was hyped. My theater was packed. The parking lot, you could barely find a seat. And I literally bought tickets 2 weeks ago so I could get a seat. And the theater was still almost filled before I bought a ticket. So, go check out this movie. Have a great experience, especially if you're a fan of the play and the book. Alright, that was my review for Wicked for Good. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. And with that said, subscribe.